All right, and welcome everybody to episode 22 of the RF Generation Collectorcast. I am so excited because joining us once again, the only man in Canada with a tan is the amazing Crabmaster.
It's more of a burn. More of a burn.
Yeah, Krabby was down in the States, right?
Yeah, we went down to San Diego. Just got back a couple days ago.
Yeah, all right. And, wow, and also the man that only knows who on earth the Blue Jackets are.
Hey, Columbus put up
Bill.
a hell of a fight, and you have to respect that. There's also a lot of former Rangers on there, so I like to keep tabs.
Yeah, okay. I really don't know what
He's losing us again.
Yeah, I don't really know what you're talking about, but sure, yeah, sounds good. Well, man, it's been a little while, but I want to say a couple things before we get started. Too awfully much, other than, man, it's really good to be back with you guys again.
Yeah, it is.
I want to say, first off, before we do anything, a couple thanks. We had a couple donations after my slightly begging at the end of the last show. So I want to say a couple of quick thanks to a couple donors. So Mr. 10 Star from the site was very kind. And
hope those dollars were complete in box. I wouldn't accept them any other way.
I think there was some sort of stipulation on that somehow we talk about some 360 or more Sega or something at some point in time.
All right, we'll go Sega. I'm not selling out that much.
Yeah, Mr. CIB himself, variant hater, which was very nice.
Thanks, Tinstar.
Yeah, and the other one we've got was from Kraken Studios. I'm not sure who exactly is Kraken Studios LLC, but they know who they are, and I want to thank whoever runs Kraken Studios. I'm pretty sure they donated before to the show.
Yeah, we talked about that. That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, so I didn't see any super secret message other than, like, hey, this is a podcast donation. That's all it really says. So thanks, Kraken Studios. And speaking of donations, guys, it's a magic time of year for RF Generation, right?
It is my favorite time of year.
Yeah, it's, we're going to do like a combination contest thing and donation drive this year, right?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So for those of us that were around a year ago to hear the show when they were doing the last donation drive, so Krabby, what's the donation drive all about? What's going on with that?
Well, the site obviously had some server troubles recently, so we've upgraded to some more efficient, more room. We haven't had any problems since we've been over to this new one, as far as I know. But they cost a little more money. So we need some money to keep the site ad-free and keep running on these new awesome servers so we don't ever have to go back to the old ones.
That's right, because that Pentium 3 just wasn't cutting it. Bill knows how the server farms work, right?
Oh yeah, I actually was working on servers at work today, and it is a great thing that we have people who are willing to do this for free. And kind of set the whole site up and get it up and running and maintain it as well as they do. So it's a great thing to have people like that. Yeah.
So Bill, in case our download numbers are pretty good, and certainly all these people are not on RF Generation, I don't think. So for those of us that are not on the site, can maybe tell us, everybody, what is RF Generation if you're newer to the show, and why on earth would you want to go there and donate?
Oh man, RF is there's a lot of retro collecting game sites, forums, places on the internet you can talk about older games. A lot of good places. RF is a place I kind of stumbled across when I was looking for kind of like checklists to go out while I was doing my hunting. So at least up here in the Northeast, it's now starting to warm up, so it's now becoming flea market season. So a lot of people are gonna start going out and start hunting for games. So some people might kind of stumble across the site the way I did, and it's just a really cool place where a bunch of dudes and girls. Well, girls can be dudes.
What? I don't want to meet those. I don't want to meet the girls that are dudes.
Oh, okay. Well, to each his own. So, but yeah, I kind of ended up kind of lurking here for a little while, just kind of like bumming around on the forums until I just kind of figured out that like this was a really, cool group. So I kind of ended up, I came for the checklists, but I stayed for the friendships.
Aw. And that's how a podcast is born, boys
Yeah,
and girls.
and there's a few podcasts, and I'm a little late to the party with a lot of things lately with the family situation and everything, but I was able to finally get to listen to the community playthrough podcast that Fleech and Banana and Tech Wizard and a bunch of guys all jumped in on, and I have to say I enjoyed it very much.
I don't know if that's technically been unearthed yet.
Yeah, I think that's a super secret thing, man.
So
then you can edit it out. If it's super secret, how did I find it on the internet?
because you knew where to look.
Oh, okay. You can edit that out.
Or maybe we won't. Maybe it'll by then everything will be out there. So maybe you'll hear this, maybe you won't. Who knows?
The person who wins the donation contest and gets episode 0 of this podcast will get to hear it.
Yeah, and I want to say, that normally we do kind of a deal with the donation drive in kind of conjunction with that, but we didn't have quite some time to work that out. But we'll see if we can jump in with something coming up and try to help out a little bit. But I would say, if nothing else, if you want some place to go, a couple big things, right? Great tools to track a game collection. So, make use of that. There's an Android app. Carry it around with you when you're out hunting.
Very
Print your
handy.
sheets out. Like Bill, right? Print your sheets out when you're going to go out. You know what you got. You know what you need. It doesn't matter the system. I mean, gosh, literally tens of thousands of stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of Tin Star and his love for variants, the checklist that you print out, it was kind of what introduced me to variants. So I'm you see like baseball, three screw, 5 screw, round seal, circle seal. And then that was the first time I kind of realized, oh wait, there are, different versions of these. And I just ended up keeping, the ones that I had, instead of like not getting a second copy of baseball, I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just get the variant, so you don't have to be like Tin Star. You can grab a couple variants, show people how cool they are if you want. And, the checklists, that, once you input your collection on the site, that you can print them out with your collection pre-populated and then just kind of use it as a running checklist. So, that's kind of what got me hooked, and I really, really like the tools that the site has.
Yeah, and it's all user funded. So like Krabby mentioned, hey, there's no ads whatsoever. You don't have to worry about any of that. Just everybody funds this little bit of magic, and and all the contributions come from everybody. So that kind of leads us into the other half of what's going on, because miraculously we're also in time for the submission contest, right?
I love the submission contest.
Because last year you won, right?
Last year I won, and the year before that I should have won. Damn,
Air rock.
Air dice.
Yeah, because last year, Krabby, you won, but somehow magically I got the prizes. So thanks for that.
It worked out well for everyone. I did all the work. You got all the glory.
That's all. That's the way it should be.
And judging from that photo we saw earlier, it looks like you have a lot of ammunition.
Oh man, I got a lot. I got no time to put it in, unfortunately. So someone else will have to take the crown this year.
Maybe you should hire someone at the store just to do your submissions for RF Gen.
You are the third to suggest that today.
Do you know in Canada, do they have unpaid interns?
I think it's more frowned upon up here than it is down there.
I didn't realize Canadians could frown.
It's more of a
We're angry capitalists here. We don't care. We'll crush you to the ground for free. But yeah, there's the Paint Yourself with Submissions contest. So again, hey, if you're listening or if you're interested in the site, everything comes from the users. So we need scans of games, boxes, manuals, inputs of variations and things like I mentioned. You got to put that in. It's maybe you just bought that brand new PS4 game or whatever. Make sure it's in there. If it's not, you can submit it, send some scans in, and there's some prizes, right? So whoever does the best can win a prize, which is...
Last year's prize is going to be tough to beat, though. How do you top Color a Dinosaur?
That's true. I did get Color a Dinosaur. And a t-shirt.
And a t-shirt, yes.
You can't even buy those.
Well, you can buy those.
They're really nice. I've had mine for a couple of years, and Eric felt pity for me a couple of years ago and sent me his, and I'm still wearing it to this day.
Yeah.
Does anyone who ever win the prize keep the prize, or do they always just give it to somebody?
No, You just
if I
sent me the
win, I
shirt
would
because
pay
you already
for it.
had one from the previous year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Champion.
And then so I already had one, so I sent it to Duke.
See, and if I miraculously win, I'll pay it forward, Bill. That's how you do things. But I won't win. I don't have that much stuff to scan.
No, yeah, it's when you see the totals of the people who put all this time into this, it's really amazing how much work that people decide to do for the good of the site.
Yeah, it is. So, I would say one of two things. If you love video game collecting, which if you're listening to this podcast, duh, you do. I mean, why on earth would you listen to us babble? If you
For
didn't?
the small scores.
Yeah, okay, what? And, go out and spend a few of your time. Either if you got some bucks, you want to throw at least $1 or $2 more, donate to the site. If you, if you got no money and you got time, put some information in the database. It all counts. So, we really encourage you to do that. And, gosh, man, kind of getting back to us for a minute. Bill, from the last episode, congratulations, right?
Congratulations, what?
You had a new
oh,
edition.
That's right. I did. I was able to pick up a Gremlins 2 manual recently, and that was really exciting because I needed it.
And there was that other child thing.
And we had a baby.
And
yes, thank you very much. He's really. I know every parent says this, and I know I'm biased, but he's just the best. He's perfect. He's amazing, and he's just the greatest little thing.
Yeah. So then you'll warm up and you'll be ready for number 2, right?
Oh yeah, I'm already I'm looking ahead. I'm already thinking, okay, and people are already a few people have already said, you know what, like if you're gonna have more than one, like try to have them pretty quick. Not get it over with, but it's nice to have kids that are close in age. So we're we don't want to rush anything or go too quickly, but we're already starting to think, okay. Just kind of plan it out over the next few years, see what we want to do here. But yeah, we definitely want to have more. So he's just been fantastic.
Yeah, you don't want to end up like me, where they're scattered to the four winds. And
well, my wife has a sister who's 9 years younger, and a brother who's just a couple of years older. So she likes to tease her sister and call her the accident, but her sister says, "No, I was more of a surprise."
That's right, like a gift.
Exactly.
One of my friends I've met through the store recently and have been hanging out with in the last few months. I just found out a couple days ago when I was talking to him, he's got a brother who is 24 years younger than him.
Wow. So he was born when his mom was like 15.
Right? No, different mother. So it's kind of like a half brother, I guess.
I see. Okay, all right, that makes more sense. I can believe that. Through that same sort of magic, I've got a sister I'm almost 20 years older than, so I understand.
Magic.
It is magic. If you ever get to experience it, it is magic.
It's not magic. It's just a little blue pill.
Krabby has his one and is done.
One and done.
So good. One and done.
He's done. And
he did it the right way.
Yeah, and I've added the third to my collection. So
yeah, congratulations over your way too.
Yeah, thanks. We're done. We had the magic the magic surgery, so
nice.
There will be no more. But
and if there are, she's got some splaining.
No, it's actually the other way around.
Oh, okay.
they were in there anyway. So, what are you gonna do? But yeah, man, it's really good. Man, I know this is live for the show. It'd be fun if we could just catch up forever, but I suppose the listeners might want us to get onto something in particular. So
at some point, we should let them know in the notes, like the timestamp of when the show actually starts.
Yeah, we could probably do that. So if you don't listen to the
incoherent rambling from 20 to 28. Yeah.
But we do have a few other miscellaneous things that we've got to take care of. So, Krabby, we've missed you so much. Where can people find this show?
On YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. YouTube. Your abandoned YouTube channel is still there, right?
I still get a lot of subscribers and comments, even though I haven't put anything new on it in a long time. So I've been getting kind of a craving lately to jump back on there. So hopefully I'll get some time to put something up soon.
Is Godzilla still the number one?
Oh, yeah. You can't take down Godzilla.
so strange.
Sexual innuendos and poop jokes. Yeah. They don't stop.
And so if people didn't want to catch us on YouTube, which is the best place if you want the old shows, because that's where the whole archive is all on YouTube. But where else could they go, Bill?
If you want to catch it just on the plain old rfgeneration.com, you can always find the show over there.
Yeah, definitely. You can search us. We're on there. We post all the new shows, and it's got some comments. If you want to come in and talk about the show, that'd be great. You can also find us on Stitcher Smart Radio. You can, if you got that app, you want to throw us on there, that's great. Kelsey, where else?
Are we still on the pickle?
Oh, man, we're still in the pickle.
Yeah? It's the number one source of views?
Yeah. Podcast Cornichon.
I have really not checked that place. it may be gone.
That site went belly up, but you can still find us there, as well as just collectorcast.com.
There we go, collectorcast.com, which is on our host there, which is a Podomatic, and Podomatic has an app now for your phone. So if you want to get us on the Podomatic app.
Yep. And if you have a different app that just takes the RSS feed for your podcast, the collectorcast.com site has the RSS feed right on it.
Absolutely. Yes, it does. And, that's a myriad of ways to talk to us. And
yep.
So
the Facebook and Twitter have been a little quiet as of late because of all the busyness from all three of us. But we do have Facebook and Twitter accounts that are linked up. So feel free to shoot us something over there if you feel like saying hello.
And I would say today, if you guys, whenever you get a chance on your board, check out the little video that I posted over there today. It's like some J-pop song, but the video is really awesome. But you guys will have to see that.
On the Facebook page?
Facebook and Twitter should be. I should cross-post over there, so that's always great. And, just at Collectorcast on Twitter and /Collectorcast on Facebook. So we love to hear from you. So having said all that, we'll get on with the show. All right. Well, it's been a while since we've all three been together and had a chance to sit down and talk. But, boy, we're going to hit a big topic, I think, this time around. We're going to talk about collecting and completing sets and subsets for different systems and, different subsets and whatnot. And kind of a lot of this comes around because one of us is... Well, I'd say maybe a couple, but one of us is getting really close, right?
Who could it be?
Could it be the guy that owns a game store?
It helped a little bit.
I thought you were talking about me and my Konami Silverbox subset, but you were talking about someone else entirely.
Oh, we'll get to you. Don't worry. We'll get to you. But, Krabby. All right. So if people have listened to the show, they know fellow NES nut. But, so what's going on with that collection?
I'm going for a full license set. And since opening when I opened the store, I probably had about somewhere between 60 and 70 games left that I needed. And as of this recording, I think I'm at 11 games left needed.
Wow. And can you tell us what these few left are? I mean, do you know off the top of your head?
Give me 1 sec. I will have them very, very shortly for you.
And just for comparison's sake, how close are you to Banana?
I think he's under 10. I think he's at like 7 or 8 or something like that.
And is there any kind of competition for who gets the? I mean, have you guys been kind of jabbing at each other or not at all?
Oh heck no! We've still been helping each other out. He just sent me a couple games. I sent him Scat a little while ago. We're still helping
Very
along.
Cool.
But let's be honest for a minute. Rich is probably not going to catch Krabby.
He's got a couple big ones that might
prove
be a
problematic.
little road bump. Yeah, my list I'm pretty happy with. All right, so
so
let's
hear it.
So I got Cool World.
Okay. How could you miss that one? You're like the Brad Pitt guy.
Well, I gotta save the best for last, right?
Oh, There you go.
I think that one is actually, spoiler alert, on its way to me now from someone else, so I didn't realize you still needed it.
I do, but I because I'm a Brad Pitt nut, I think I might wait for a complete box
To
version.
be your last one.
I want to sign. I want to see it signed.
What? So when
I would love that.
you want to look at Brad? You want Brad Pitt to complete you?
He's not even on the cover, unfortunately. It's just the girl.
You can
I'll pencil
peel
them
out
in
a
there.
sticker or something, right?
Photoshop them in.
That's right.
Okay,
For
so we got
Legends of
Cool World.
Fall.
We got Faria. Got
Okay.
Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, that's easy.
That's easy. That's cheap. Yeah. I got Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh, really?
Which one?
The Ubisoft version.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's probably my hardest one left to find, I want to say. We got Jimmy Connor's Tennis.
That's surprisingly hard to find, but yeah.
I got Last Action Hero.
Oh, it's toughy.
Tricky.
Miracle Piano. Now, I've had 2 chances to pick that up loose. I've been holding out because I really, really want the keyboard to go with it. So that one might be one of the last ones I get just because I'm holding out for that accessory to go with it.
But wait. I think you mentioned, though, that you want the keyboard complete in box, right? That's why?
That would be preferred, yes. I would settle for just a fully functioning one, not a complete box, but I'm not going to be too picky with that one.
Good luck finding the stupid foot pedal. That's all I've got to say.
I've heard. What else do we need? Stack Up.
Are you going to go for the full-blown stack up?
Yeah, I want to play everything, right? So I gotta have all the pieces. So that one's gonna be probably the priciest one left on this list.
Yeah.
You might be able to buy a 3D printer for less than the cost of the game and make all the pieces.
Or you could import the Famicom version and just
No.
take the pieces.
No, it's gotta be North American.
Gotta be real.
It's the same thing.
Gotta be fresh.
Got Tecmo Cup Soccer
Oh, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
and World Championship Racing. Nigel Manswell's World Championship Racing.
Yeah, I
Actually,
mean,
that's
it's
not too
I mean, you didn't list any of the ones that, a lot of people would say are their last ones. So, I mean, this looks like it's imminent.
This is gonna happen this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
and let's be clear. I mean, for those that haven't listened long, I mean, you're going full blown, right? So you've got the one that stops everybody, right?
Yeah, I got the stadium events out of the way 2 years ago now, probably.
I was talking about Mario Duck Hunt, but
Oh,
I thought you were talking about what's it called? Fire and Ice.
oh yeah,
That's a
okay,
good
there
one.
you go.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got no real, no Little Samsons, no Flintstones 2s, no Panic Restaurants, Bubble Bobble 2s, those big ones that haunt a lot of people on the end of their list. Those were done a long time ago.
You're a smart man.
That
Now
was the
we're
plan. I kind of saw them creeping up, so I wanted to grab them before they got unobtainable.
You're like a stockbroker.
But with no money to show for it.
Just a handful of plastic.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, you're getting pretty close. So obviously
I'm
a big goal.
excited for you.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
too.
really excited. Like, this is, I don't know, some people, I've seen them knock it out in like a year or two.
Oh,
And I don't know how exciting that those last few games coming in can be when it's so quick. But this is for me. It's been 8 or 9 years now,
right?
So it's been a long, painful goal at times, and I'm really getting excited.
Yeah. So within the year, we're thinking that's going to happen then.
Yeah, like every time a new game comes in, I'm getting that same feeling like when I started out, when you had like 50 games, you get a new one that you like. I've been looking for, Castlevania 2 forever, and I finally got it again. I'm feeling like that again. Like, here's Terminator. I've been looking for that for 6 years now.
Isn't that the best? And that's one of the things that you really love about it when you first start collecting. And then as you get more and more stuff and it gets harder and harder to find things, it almost gets a little bit discouraging because you don't get that as much because, the stuff is either harder to find or like you can't, swing the money at the time. Yeah. And it was kind of like that with 32X. Like when I first started grabbing like new games, it was all BC Racers and all Blackthorn and like, just games that like I didn't, I didn't have yet for the system. And now that I have everything except one, I find myself like not even thinking about it anymore because it's like, well, I'm not just going to come across a cheap Spider-Man on a forum someplace or come across it like at a tag sale probably. So I just kind of put it out of my mind. I'm like, well, like if it happens, it happens, So, but yeah, being able to get excited about a new thing into the collection is got to be fantastic.
It is. There's guys that come into the store that I know are at least somewhat versed in NES collecting, And when I get something new and I like talk to them about it, and sometimes you can just tell they don't care, they're not interested, they're just they're good job, like they don't care. But I just
where's the N64 games?
Color a what?
Yeah, but it's fun. Like some of the games have gotten to the point where like things like Last Action Hero, most people don't even know it came out on the NES, right? Mm-hmm. So they really don't care. But I'm still excited, so I'm talking about it to way more people than I should be. Getting psyched again.
Who will then come and break into your house?
Yeah, no one's going to come break in for my Cool World, unfortunately. It'd be the first thing I took.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, Bill, I mean, you kind of mentioned a little bit, right? You are also going for a complete set of 32X games, right?
Yes. Complete in-box, complete US set.
That's right. So, and as you mentioned, you're one away.
One away. Yep. So it's a really fun system to collect for. I mean, I guess you kind of have to enjoy the system, or else what's the point? But if you have any kind of that like weird kind of like, well, the 32X is weird. So if you kind of have that weird Sega love for like that kind of quirky, any one of their quirky little systems that didn't have a ton of games that I kind of have a soft spot for, it was a really fun system to go for. I mean, when it came out years ago, I had like 3 games for it. Like Virtua Racing, Star Wars, and Virtua Fighter.
Like 50% of the library, right?
Yeah. No, that was probably like 8%. There's like 36, 37 games. I can't remember the exact number, but yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of games for it.
Lose count after 10, right?
Yeah.
You gotta take your socks off, and then it just gets crazy.
You gotta bring your friends over. You can't keep track.
I let someone borrow my abacus, so I'm not 100%, all together right now. But yeah. And it's, and as if the system wasn't quirky enough, like there's those Sega CD 32X, kind of dual releases. And it's weird because like most of they all are just CDs. So people always ask, they're like, it's not a cart and a CD? I'm like, no, it's just a CD, and it's just because the extra processing
would be so awesome if you needed a cart and a disc to put in.
There's a cart, and then or if you start it up and it says, oh, the disc is good, but please insert cartridge 1. But yeah, it's just the disc, and it uses the extra processing power. But yeah, it's a fun little system. It's quirky. Obviously, most of the games aren't great. If they were, the system would have lasted longer. But it's still a really cool, little piece of Sega history that I really, I was kind of a fanboy when it came out, so I guess it kind of, leans toward me enjoying it now. And it's funny the things that you find for things like that you didn't know existed when you start, when you become the 32X guy, there's not too many of you. So there's always people who are like, oh, 32X guy, I saw this 32X thing. What do you think? Do you want this? I'm like, well, yes, I do. So you end up with like the Blockbuster rental case, kind of like reproduction news. I got a Dark Side, complete repro from, guy, Mickey, who runs the Retro Games Plus in Westport. I got it from at Too Many Games last year. It's the nicest looking, reproduction I've ever seen. There's another reproduction that's in the mail on the way to me now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I finally closed the deal on that, and
nice.
I felt bad because again, with the family situation, a lot of things have been kind of put on hold for a little bit, but I'm like crawling out of the cave and getting back to back to communicating with other people. So that's an exciting thing that's happening. But yeah, 32X, it's just a funny, silly little system. It was a lot of fun. It doesn't take long or a whole lot of money to complete a cart-only set. It only takes a little bit of extra cash for like 2 or 3 games, and all the rest of them are really, really pretty simple. But yeah, if you want it complete, you're either going to have to shell out the dough or be very patient, and I am Mr. Patient.
I'm right there with you. I understand. So, I'm kind of along with Krabby's track that I'm an NES nut. Well, and you too, Bill, I'm sure we'll get into when we start talking about subsets in a minute for sure. But I'm getting pretty close, and hopefully Krabby's going to help me get a little bit closer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, foreshadowing?
Yeah,
foreshadowing.
So wait, Chris, how are you ever going to find a little Samson, though?
I would like to thank a certain Mr. Bill for that one.
You're welcome. Don't even mention it. You don't even have to mention that.
I will gladly mention that every time that I can.
That was so fun.
Yeah, I want to say, the same thing, like talking, like Crab was talking with, with Rich and everything is, we all several of us that kind of work as a team, like this collecting team.
Yep.
And that's what you do. You feed each other, the stuff, because it would be really expensive to do it all on your own.
Yeah,
like really expensive. And half the time, and you have more fun. I don't know. These days I have more fun just hitting stuff and going, "Hey, do you want that? Is that something you're looking for?"
Mm-hmm.
I like getting those little texts from you. Yeah. Do you need this Atlas game? Do you need this? Who needs this NES game? Yeah, it's awesome.
Because then it's almost like, too, it's like, oh, I get to shop with someone else's money. Mm-hmm. And, the local game guys are really nice, and they're like, they know me. But
it's actually amazing how many people do that. And not just games, for all different stuff. Like, I go to the flea market, and, just a few weeks ago, there was, what was it? What was the picture I sent you guys? It was the Atari, not the 8-bit Atari. I can't remember. It was like a complete Atari. The guy was asking like $80 or $100 for.
Yeah.
And I
don't
just
remember what that was, but I remember you snapping a picture.
And I just asked the guy, or the guy asked me, it
was like an 800 or something like that.
Maybe it was an 800. Yeah. So that's what it was. Yeah, it was Atari 800. So and I went to take a picture of it, and the guy was like, "Oh, you interested?" And I was like, "Well, I have several friends who, I kind of, do this stuff with, so I'm just going to shoot him a picture and see if anybody wants it." And he kind of he didn't kind of roll his eyes at me, but like he kind of was like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And I was like, "What? Like that must be exciting for that he's, getting a lead like that." And then I kind of paid attention the rest of the day, and there were so many people like saying that to sellers, like, "Oh, I'm going to tell my friend about this."
Right. Which is, I'm going to look up the eBay prices.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I realized, oh, I'm serious about it. I'm legit, sending it to people, but like, that's gotta be a thing that people do a lot.
I actually don't see a lot of that up here. People legitimately, like, I hear them on the phone, like, call their brother or call their friend, like, he's got, Xenogears today. I had that one in the store. So I had a lot of people, like, calling their friends, like, trying to find somebody to buy this Xenogears for me so it would not last the day. Yeah. So I see that quite often, actually. And I don't see a lot of people, because I watch for it. I used to do it too. I pull up my phone, but not to check prices, to check my the RF Gen app on my phone. Yep. Make sure it's not double, or check Bill's wish list and see if it's something he needed type thing. I don't see a lot of people pull out their phones up here to check prices or lists or anything. They almost never.
Well, we're filthy capitalists down here,
yeah.
so.
And I've shown sellers before. Like one time, like he's like, "What are you doing?" Looking up on eBay, and I showed him the phone. I was like, "This is my collection." I sometimes forget if I have exactly, which cart, or like, do I have that, or am I missing the manual? And he was like, "Oh, that's really cool."
Yeah, it's like when I go to the local game exchange, the guys there are they're really nice, and obviously they know me by now. But
yeah, you talked about them a lot, that they hook you up and they call you when stuff comes in.
Yeah, but I mean, they're even like, yeah, here's our Wi-Fi password, or whatever, you can send your stuff, because they want to sell it, right? Duh.
Right.
They want to sell it. But yeah, I don't. For NES, I don't know. I've got some weird sickness. I just don't have some limited set, I guess. So.
Oh, you mean with going for unlicensed as well?
I just don't know where the boundaries are for me, but maybe we'll get into some of that. I don't know if I have defined boundaries.
I was going to bring that up if you didn't. Yeah, I really like I cannot fathom myself collecting like you do, but I really like it because it just, it never ends. Like, as soon as you've got all the license, you still got unlicensed, you got homebrew, you got imports, you got reproductions, and on and on and on.
You got accessories. Did you say accessories?
I did not.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't want to mention that because I'm fighting him for a couple.
Oh, really?
I get the next hands free that comes up.
Whoa! Yeah.
There's what's it called? Someone had Dave, one of the regular cool sellers of games at the local flea market. He had a boxed U-Force.
Nice.
And I think you guys have those, right?
Yep.
I don't have a box for mine, but I do have one with the manual and everything else.
Oh, you don't have the box?
I don't. I would like to get a second one because I've had a few really awesome nights where we just pulled out the U-Force and played Punch-Out Mario for like an hour. We tried to play DuckTales with it, which isn't a game that's supposed to be programmed with it. And it was so bizarre to climb up a rope or use your pogo stick. Like, it was fun, though.
Did you put your power glove on while using the U-Force?
No, but we did play, like, we played one round with the power glove, one round with the U-Force, see which one we could complete the level with quicker.
While standing in the activator.
That's Sega. Come on, don't get crazy.
Your super scope strapped to your back.
My laser scope.
Right.
Oh man, that's the one thing that I'm partially for my Konami, love. But I really would like a boxed laser scope, but I haven't even seen one.
I don't have a box one. I mean, mine's pretty beat up, but yeah, it's
because of all the screaming you do into
it. You gotta yell fire loudly, or it just won't work.
There's certain things that it's like. There's very few things that you like 100% like have to go to like eBay or buy from somebody, but that's one thing that I've literally never seen anywhere except on eBay.
That accessory specifically for Laser Invasion, is that right?
Yes.
Now,
it's the only game that I've seen advertised working with the laser scope.
You can use it for some other games, yeah, but that's the one it's designed for.
Right. Now that game is brutally hard with the controller. I cannot imagine playing
once you
being able to beat it with that.
You just have to say fire.
Once you add the Kinect laser scope, then you're all set. I just checked eBay just for fun right now. The boxed one that's on there is $150.
That doesn't sound horrible.
Yeah, it's there.
It's there.
It's cheaper than a Web of Fire.
I'd almost rather get like a loose one and just put it on a mannequin head. Or put it on the Master Chief from Halo 3.
There you go. But let's talk about okay, so Krabby, you're gonna go for this full set. Bill, you want a full 32X set. I've got kind of different outlooks on that. So what is the appealing part to you about collecting every single game within some defined set? Krabby, what excites you about that?
The original reason I wanted to is because I wanted like 2 or 3 games I used to have when I was a kid, and I bought a lot of 50 games because they had 2 of the games I wanted in there. And it was like Lolo and Hide Glide and Karnov were in the slot. And those are the 3 I wanted. And I got a whole bunch of other stuff I'd never heard of. Gargoyle's Quest, Chiller, and I can't even remember the rest now.
It's a nice lot.
Wow, yeah. Chiller was like in the first lot of games you bought?
Chiller was in the first lot of games, and I spent like $30 on this lot. It was back when eBay, when you could actually get deals, when it wasn't a whole bunch of jerks like us trolling eBay.
We are jerks.
Yeah. And so I'm playing these games I've never heard of, never knew existed, and some of them were really, really fun. And so I was like, I need to get all of these and see which ones I really, really like.
That happened like in a day?
That happened probably over a whole weekend.
Wow. Over 2 days?
2 days. Yeah. At the time, though, it was a little bit of naivety. Like, I didn't realize how many games there were, how hard some were to find, how expensive some of them were.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I'm going to do this. It's going to, I'll have this done in 6 months, and then I'll get all the Super Nintendo games after that.
It'll take 2 days. I could do that.
So wait, how old were you when that happened?
Oh, this was probably about 10 years ago, tops.
Wow.
Oh, so a young lad.
A young lad in his early 20s.
Yeah.
20s. Okay. I guess I'm not as old as I think I am. Yeah, around probably 20, 21, 22 at tops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And you just, so right off the bat, you just went, I'm going to have all of them.
I got it, yeah. And then after getting into communities like RF Gen, Racket Boy, Nintendo Age, and just like researching some of the games and some of the sets, it was fascinating. And all of the collecting stuff that I didn't know about, because I was just getting into it originally just to play the games, the collecting stuff really grew on me. So it got really exciting when you'd locally find like a Snow Brothers or something that's kind of hard to find. It was, you get this rush like you were playing the game and you'd be like, yeah. So that stuff kind of grew on me as I went along into it. And now I love both aspects.
Okay. So, I think you maybe already mentioned a little bit, Bill, but why every 32X game?
it seemed really, really easy. But I mean, that wasn't the whole reason. Like I said, like I mentioned a little bit before, I'm telling you, like I don't know how many of us there were. There weren't very many. I was a huge, not just like Sega Genesis fanboy, like back in the 16-bit wars. I was on board with the 32X. That was like, I had like, they didn't exist, but like if there was like a 32X like hat, like jacket, like 32X socks, like I'm telling you, like I was reading, I mean back then,
other
I think
than
it was
the one that Bill had his grandma make special for him,
Yeah.
it didn't exist.
the Contra sweater that was debunked. But yeah, like, I mean, back then was like what, like EGM was like the main magazine, I think back then. And I'm reading like all the articles with, cause back then, I mean, these days, you know, like a little bit about the specs, but like back then, I feel like it was actually more about specs back then than it is now. Like now it's like, hey, just look at what it can do. Back then it was like 32-bit RISC processing. Right? And, like, you know, no one cared, but the thing is like now I couldn't tell you how many, you know, polygons or, you know, like texture shading on the new systems, but like back then you knew exactly how many like polygons per second, you know, the 32X could do versus, you know, Saturn and all the other 3D systems. So really back then I was looking forward to the 32X.
I hear it's the most USB ports is the best system now.
Yeah. Number one USB ports.
I think it's whichever one has the less P's is the one you want.
The fewest P's. So yeah, but it's, I mean, I literally like months before the 32X came out, it was like, I circled it in the service merchandise catalog. Like I left the Toys R Us manual open. Like I was talking about it. I knew which games I wanted. Like I was drinking the Kool-Aid hard on the 32X. And then the 32X came out, and I remember like the first time like we hooked it up wrong. Like the spacer that was on it, we left the space, like we just opened up the package and we saw the spacer and we're like, well, it has the same shape as the bottom of the 32X. Let's put it on there. And then we like put it in like on the Genesis, and it wouldn't load because the spacer was like stopping it from, you know, connecting to the card slot. So we literally got on the phone with Sega support, and like I remember like they picked up the phone, and we're like, hey, it won't turn on. Take the spacer off. What? Take that thing off that you put on. Like, oh, there it goes. Thank you.
And do you remember the instructions that came with that thing? It's like, if you have this configuration, you'll need these 15 things. And if you have that one.
Because there were 47 possible combinations with all the different models of Sega stuff that had come out. But yeah, so, I mean, it's back in the day, I was, you know, hard, you know, fanboy on the 32X. So then kind of when I got into collecting and I picked up like a handful of complete box 32X games, similar to Krabby, my first 32X lot when I kind of got like, you know, when I was a little bit older, and I kind of decided, okay, I'd like to, you know, grab some of the games that I enjoyed playing when I was younger. So I already had a Genesis. So I got, I think it was an eBay lot. It was a box 32X with like 6 games or something. And those showed up, and then, you know, I liked the way the box games looked on the shelf, and I just started, you know, I found a few more, and then before long I was like, you know what? There are only that many games for it? Yeah, like, why don't I just do this? So, and then it just became, you know, it wasn't like Krabby where in like 17 hours I was like, I'm gonna get all this stuff. It was more like I had a few games, and then like the next day I was like, let me see if I can get a few more. And like, it probably took, you know, and I'm the same way with Nintendo. Like there's actually never been a point, even to this day, I don't think, where there's never been a point with Nintendo where I've said my goal is to get a complete Nintendo US licensed set. My goal with Nintendo has always been just to get games that I don't currently have. Yeah. So it's never like, you know, it's never like I can fail at that. It's like there's always games I can get that I don't currently have. So it's, you know, there's always something for me to go out there for.
This is probably a good segue into Duke's collection. What's the appeal of not having a very well-defined ending?
That's the appeal, because I don't have to stop, right? I mean,
I like that idea. Like, and I don't know if that's something that I did consciously, but I've never said my goal is to get complete everything. It's just, I'm interested in any Nintendo game that I don't currently have.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think I get the idea of wanting to check a box that says done. You know what I mean? I can.
It's like when the microwave's finished with your dinner.
Right. I can appreciate the desire to have closure on something. But that's kind of it. It's kind of like that ride that I don't want to stop. Right. I enjoy it. I like doing it. And I know if it was over, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm sure we'll talk about some of this a little bit later, but it's what now? Right? What do you do now?
Yeah.
That would frustrate me to no end.
Yeah, and I know you. And I know you that's murder.
Like I more understand when people collect and they cut out like Flintstones and stadium events, for instance, or when you're doing N64, you cut out like Sculptor's Cut or something like that. And you finish your set. Like, it might not be the full, complete US set or however you want to define it, but they finished their set. Yeah. I get that. I understand that. Dukes, I don't quite grasp as much. I can see kind of how it would be fun, but after a while, it would really grate on me. Like, I'm not getting any closer to my goal.
I would say, okay, imagine it like this, right? Let's say that your goal is to run a marathon. You train, and you run that marathon. You don't just go, yes, I ran the marathon. I'm going to now sit on my butt and watch TV.
Time for a Game of Thrones marathon.
Right, you don't just go, that's it. I'm never running again.
I think I might actually do that like, for something like that. Not a marathon in particular, but I like hitting a goal, and that's done. Next thing. Let's find a new goal. Yeah, it might not be related at all.
Yeah, and see, in my case, the goal is always get the one I don't have yet. Right? I mean, and let's be honest, unless I hit the lottery, I'll never be done. And
even if you hit the lottery, I don't think you'd be done. There's some things that you just, even with infinite amount of money, that you're just not going to have any luck finding.
I don't know. If you have enough deep pockets, you might be able to get things.
I think money. I think for the most, like I agree with you.
There's a few things that are kind of one of a kind that other people don't need the money either. So you got a few items I don't think you'll ever track down.
Okay, probably not a Nintendo Campus Challenge, right?
Right.
That's not going to happen because there's one.
Okay.
Yeah. There's one of them.
If you want, like a sealed Flintstones Surprise Giant Freak, there's one that's come out, I think.
Maybe. Yeah. Or like sealed stadium events, right? There's a few.
There's 3 of those. Come on,
there's
at least.
A few.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I bet if I had $1 million in my hand and I went to the guy that has Campus Challenge, I said, $1 million. Yeah. I bet he would hand it over.
You can't go to the grave with it.
Yeah.
Take the $1 million.
Everybody has their price.
You can go to the grave with that.
I don't have $1 million, so I'm not going to do that. But, yeah, now don't get me wrong. Will I kind of check off a mini step, like when I go, okay, yes, I have everything but stadium
would you
events,
kind of, the way you're collecting set, would you kind of consider like licensed set as like a subset?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That makes a little bit of sense then.
So yeah, will I get excited when I can tick that box off? Sure, but I mean, I'm not done, right?
Right.
That's just one box out of a lot. So that's the part to me is kind of, I understand the concept of completion and wanting to say I'm done, but then I go, it's a hobby. What do you do then? So that's going to be my question now. So Crabby, you're getting close. What happens when you're done?
I've already got a few more on the go, more than I meant to. If I didn't have the store, I'd have less of them on the go. But I've always planned to move on to other systems once that one's done. I've got half the Virtual Boy library already complete in box, including the 2 most expensive ones. So I really like the Virtual Boy. I want to finish that one off. It'll be quick. It'll be easy. TurboGrafx is another one I'm really liking. I'm about halfway through that library, complete in box. So I'll probably continue on that one. N64, I kind of enjoy picking up complete in box games for that one. Just out of nowhere, I started collecting Vita games because I didn't realize how few of them there were. So I've got like half the Vita library already. And
so just move on to another system.
Move on to another system, yeah. I don't want it to stop either, but I still want those well-defined endings.
Is there ever an end?
Probably when I run out of space. But that'll be more like if I hit that point where I literally can't put another game in my house, it'll be like sell off all the Vita stuff now and we'll move over to Master System or something.
Okay. All right. So, Bill, what happens when Web of Fire goes on the shelf?
I've thought about that. And I'm not sure 100%, but the one thing that keeps kind of creeping into my mind is to complete all of them, like actually play through each one to the end.
That's kind of fun.
And that might be a YouTube project that finally gets me off my butt and like finally, I've been they're like, thinking about doing something on YouTube for a long time.
Yeah.
So again, like it's not a ton of games.
They're at that point too where they're not super, super long.
No, yeah,
like they are nowadays. Yeah,
and a lot of launch games, especially like arcade style, like launch games, they're typically not terribly long in length. So I've already completed a couple of them, like Virtua Fighter. I would do it again, but Virtua Fighter I've completed. Star Wars I've completed. I'm sure there'd be a couple that'd be a little on the frustrating side, but I think it'd be something that would kind of add to the overall experience of completing that collection. Is not just that I collect each one of them, but I experienced each one of those games as much as I could.
The end. That's awesome.
So
if you do that, let me know. I've been streaming YouTube like game playthroughs in the store lately. I totally stream some build videos.
Oh, cool. And if I do it, I would let you guys know, and we I don't know if we'd make a big deal out of it, but anyone who is curious to know about the elusive 32X library could watch what it looks like.
Yeah, we could definitely pimp that and get that out there. That's good. So, is game collecting then just random NES pickups, or what beyond that?
How do you mean?
For you, I mean, okay, you finished 32X, and you said, well, with the NES, it's kind of just things I don't have.
Oh, right, yeah. No, I mean, so for a long time, and you'll hear me referencing the kid a lot, but so before we had the kid, it was it kind of depended on if I had a good couple of weeks, like either at the flea market or like picking stuff up at local thrift shops or whatever, stuff that I could use as trade bait. And if I couldn't use it as trade bait, you just sell it on the forums, and then you'd have your PayPal account stacked up, and then you jump on, like Krabby was saying, like Racket Boy, Nintendo Age, RF Generation, like whatever, and you're looking for those big lots of Nintendo or complete games or like whatever you're interested in, and so spending PayPal money like that never felt like spending money to me, because it didn't cost me that much money to get to that amount. You know what I mean? So it just felt like spending fake money. I like, that's how I've, always collected, complete and box Nintendo stuff, just to kind of keep the cost down. It's getting trickier, lately. And I don't know if it's just, local to me. But I'm seeing, I mean, I literally gave up on Craigslist. I gave up on Goodwill a little while ago. I stop by Savers once in a while because they have some nice surprises. But Craigslist is just, it used to be, every couple of days, I'd find something cool on Craigslist. All you see now are, I collect video games and sell me your video games. And like, there's like Facebook groups around me where like people are like just posting, people are buying everything. And the tricky part around me is people are spending a lot of money on stuff that they don't need to spend a lot of money on.
Right.
And it's, oh, I picked this up and I got it. It's like, oh, cool. Like, what'd you spend? I spent $80.
Ooh.
Really?
Ouch.
Why'd you do that?
Right. You're like, oh.
Yeah. So I'm, it's been going on for like a year now. So I'm kind of hoping that the market kind of dies down a little bit. Like we've been talking about how Atari died down after its kind of spike. But I'm actually more or less on, like, I'm not on a Nintendo hiatus, but like a lot of people have seen, Nintendo stuff is hot. It's high right now.
It is.
Oh yeah.
It's not, and I feel like we've been saying it for like at least a year. Like, oh, like, well, it's on a bubble. Let's see if the bubble kind of calms down.
Oh, more than a year now.
Yeah, it's a great big rolling bubble. And so I'm at the point now where, I don't mean to be like, cheap gamer guy, but like, if there's good deals on box games, or if box games come up that I don't think there's a good chance that I'll, see another, decent price on, I'll go for it. But I'm very, very conservative right now. And part of the reason I can be conservative is I have over 400 Nintendo games and I haven't played them all. So I'm kind of in a mode right now where I'm still looking, not nearly as much as I used to. But I'm very content just kind of slowly playing the games that I've accumulated before I kind of go back to market.
I've got a friend in town who recently approached me. He's been collecting for a few years too, and he's got pretty decent selection of stuff at his house. And he's hardcore into it. Like every weekend, he's the guy who's garage sailing at 6 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's responding to every Kijiji ad that has anything interesting in it.
Wow.
And yeah, he's like I was a few years ago. He's taken over my spot. And he approached me the other day asking if I'd be interested in buying his entire collection.
Oh, really?
And this is like an hour after going out garage sailing at 6 a.m. So I'm confused. I asked him like, what's going on there? And he's like, I just have so much fun getting these games. And I've got them, all the ones that show up all the time. So I just want to get rid of them and get them again. Like keep going. Yeah.
So he just likes the hunt.
Yeah, he wants to sell all his, Mario Karts and his Smash Bros. And things he finds hundreds of so that he can get them again for the first time.
That's
all right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the thrill of the hunt.
And it's funny you say that because a few years ago, same thing, like 2-3 years ago, I was exactly the same way. I mean, like back before like Craigslist and like, garage sales and yard sales had all like tons of like, they call them the early bird shoppers, who have like the routes planned out. I definitely was like more than a few times, was up at 5 a.m. to drive an hour away for the chance of there being games at this, yard sale in another town. So I don't know if it's, if it's kind of like a phase that a lot of collectors go through, but like I did it for a while. It was a lot of fun. And I almost wonder if I don't do it as much anymore because I'm a complete in box collector and it's so less likely to find complete in box Nintendo or 32X, stuff, at places like that. So I think I kind of went through.
I think we need to bring this up later because my collecting habits have changed considerably now that they're literally being delivered to me daily.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine.
And mine's changed a little bit too, but well, I mean, it's
let's table that one for later.
Yeah. All right. So, I don't think I really have to answer that question because, like I said, I don't plan to stop. If anything, the only thing I ever think about sometimes is maybe parting out some other systems I'm not as interested in to get farther in.
But yeah, you've done that in the past before too, right?
I have, and I'm okay with that.
I've done that too.
I'm still enjoying your CDI. Thanks.
I weep for you daily.
I don't think I've enjoyed it in over a year now.
It's because you could never enjoy it. But yeah, it's fun. I still had to go out, and I still do find a few deals, and we'll talk about that, sure. But some of that stuff, it's not my main thing. So if somebody else wants to trade or do something, I'm willing to do that. It's just fun sometimes to go around. But yeah, I don't. I like doing NES stuff, and I don't really plan to switch out of that. So, we kind of hit on. I think Krabby, you mentioned earlier the idea of subsets, and no doubt we've talked about subsets before. But some people are really just subset collectors. Period. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think some people have this notion that completing an entire console library is crazy,
and for good reason.
Yeah, because, let's be honest. A lot of people have that argument, right? Why should I get all the games for a particular system when I should really only go for the good games, quote unquote, right?
Yep.
And subsets can also be defined by you. So speaking of Krabby's point of, I've defined this goal, I've achieved this goal, I'm happy with my achievement.
Right.
Like my subsets when I first started weren't like all the Capcom games or all the Ultra games or whatever. I wanted like one game in my collection that started with every letter of the alphabet.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
That's neat.
You know what I was thinking is you were going to say is that like a lot of people, like you mentioned before, like, oh, like I want to get all the Castlevania games or I want to get all the Mega Man games. Like those are very, very common, like first goals.
No, it was like, I've never seen anything that starts with Q. I need to get Qbert or Kix or, there's only a few games that start with X. I need one of those in my library.
Quiche Attack.
Yeah, and then it was like, there's only 3 games that start with X. So I need Xerxes, I need Xenophobe, you know. Yeah.
What was the hardest? What was the hardest letter of that set to complete?
S, just because it's so big. There's so many. Everything starts with super or star.
Yes.
So there's like a bazillion of them.
I remember I first, I just figured, okay, why don't I try to go down the list from the RF Generation printed out list? So I was like, okay, and then like at the very top, it's like the Myriad and the Caltron. It's like, all right, let's go after these guys.
Let's go down the list to Abadox. Yes, Abadox. Yes. All right.
Check.
Astyanax. Yes. Yeah. But I mean, Bill, you've talked like you're big into subsets, right?
Yeah, I mean, what got me into it was when I started getting complete in box Nintendo games. There's a handful of box designs that just stand out on a shelf, either because they're just striking,
absolutely,
or because that they have a similar design to other games from the same publisher. I mean, and we've talked about it before. In case you're new to the show, there's the black box Nintendo games, which it's kind of one of those things that a lot of people who aren't necessarily complete in box collectors, if you find complete black box games, you know, for a decent price, like most people will grab them, throw them on the shelf. They just have that iconic Nintendo look. The Konami games, the silver boxes. And once I started organizing these games together instead of just like 100% alphabetical, I'm telling you, it changed your life. I already like just walking downstairs and just looking at the collection, and I'll just look at it. It's at my parents' house. They have a waterproof basement. I've mentioned that before on the show. That's just why I leave it there. So we'll go over there for dinner or something, and I'll just say, I'm going to go downstairs for a visit. And my wife just laughs and doesn't roll her eyes. She just like, you know, like, oh, that's so cute. And I'll just go down there for like 10 minutes, and there's like a little couch that kind of faces the collection, and I'll just sit down and just look at it. And it sounds really weird. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that.
I'm guilty of that as well.
I remember where I got certain things. I remember, you know, like, it's really like looking at a photo album.
Yeah.
it just makes you think of the story. So, but yeah, it's, the Konami Silverbox games. I was, you know, once I put those together, one of the first scores I got, a friend of mine called me up, said, "Hey, I see you like Nintendo games on Facebook or whatever. Like, you know, do you want to maybe take a look at some of my stuff?" And I bought a lot from him. Had a lot of good stuff, but one of the things it had were complete in box copies of Castlevania 1, 2, and 3. So with those 3 on the shelf, it was kind of like, yeah, I need to keep this going. So yeah, then I slowly started to realize, oh wow, like all the Tecmo games have that red band on the bottom. So like with the, you know, Super Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl and like the Ninja Gaidens and everything. And then the SNK games, they have I didn't even realize this until I saw them on the shelf together. They have like that kind of like blue pink fading, you know, kind of spine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the games just are amazingly beautiful to me when they're kind of like organized by publisher when they do similar box designs. So that's kind of what got me started on it. You start with your favorite publishers or, you know, some of your favorite favorite games. One of the ones that's a little bit frustrating is Capcom because they have 2 super distinct and different box styles. So then you run into, okay, do I alphabetize all the Capcoms? Do I put one part first and the other part second? So And then Konami, also like, they didn't mess it up, but they changed it up with Contraforce. They didn't go silver box on that guy. And what was the other one? It'd be really cool if, as cool as the games are here, I really wish they went silver box with all of their games. Like the
ultra titles,
the ultra releases. Yeah. It'd be really nice to have, you know, all the TMNT games in silver boxes, but there's always PAL versions.
Yeah, and what's weird over there too is that they had something similar to Ultra they had Konami and they had Palcom. So again, even over there they can't get satisfaction because they have a lot of silver box games that we didn't get, but they have Palcom releases that didn't get that. So, but had their own style. So it's no matter where you're from. But I don't know. I've mentioned before. I think collecting in-box games is crazy.
well, no. You said collecting a complete U.S. licensed set boxed is crazy.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
But not just collecting stuff in boxes is crazy.
I don't know. I don't really like cardboard that much, but
I've got a few that even some of them, like when I sent Bill a big lot a while back. There's a few more that he wanted. I just could not let go of them to give them to him because I really love the box art. And even though probably less than 10% of my collection is box, I had to keep those boxes because I really, really like them.
I don't get me wrong. I have a few box games that I'll hold on to, but it's just really, man, it's just tough. It's tough to do.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's the weird thing too. In terms of like subsets, in my mind, I've never really done that thing. Other than like Giant, like U.S. licensed, that's a subset. Right. Unlicensed, that's a subset. PAL, that's a subset.
It's a really big subset, but yeah, it is.
Yeah. Oh, then again, I don't know.
You can break it into like subsets, though.
Sure, but when you don't ever plan to be done, it doesn't matter a whole lot, right?
Right.
So it's not like I go, yay. I mean, I do, but it's not that big of a deal.
Isn't it weird? Like, have you ever got that where like you complete a subset and you're not as happy as you thought you might have been?
Like what? Like, what do you mean?
Well, I don't mean to say I'm not happy with my Konami Silver Box set, but like, it's one of the things that gets me about it is like, I completed it, I laid them all out, I took the picture, was like, yes, I've done this, yay, and a bunch of really nice people on the site were like, congratulations, we know you've been working on this, it's great. And then like, flash forward a few weeks, and it's like, I'm not on the forums looking for Silver Box games anymore.
Okay, there we go. I want to hone in on that idea right there because it's going back to that what next, right?
That's when you get your laser scope and play all your Silver Box games with it.
But it's you've built up this routine, this habit, this cycle you go through, and all of a sudden it's over.
Yeah.
Right? How would I don't want to do that. And Krabby, you're like, okay, great. Yes, I'm done.
I don't want it to end either. That's why I'm moving to other consoles instead of keeping the Nintendo flowing.
I guess. Maybe if you can develop the love for some other console, I can
can.
That.
Like Nintendo's not my most nostalgic console by any means. It's just the first one that I decided to start collecting for.
So what would you say is your most nostalgic? Would that be Super Nintendo? Or
probably, and that's the one I have like the least amount of games for.
Saving the best for last?
With Genesis out there, why would you go after Super Nintendo?
Because Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
Just need a little Mode 7 once in a while.
Is that a t-shirt?
If not, it should be.
It's Mode 7 time. I don't know how I pick and choose which one. Like, I have no nostalgia for TurboGrafx. I did not know a single person with one. I didn't discover one until well after I started collecting, well into my 20s. And it's one of my favorite consoles now. So that one's going to be a main focus once the NES is done. And I don't know how that happened.
It's just a fun console. There's some really good games on that system, right?
There is. And it's like Bill said about 32X2. It seems obtainable. You've got less than 100 games. There's only a couple really pricey ones.
Yeah.
The NES set is huge in comparison, so just the time frame that I should be able to finish it in seems a lot more reasonable.
Understandable.
Even though the games are harder to find than NES games, obviously.
Yeah.
It's a fun one to play too, like you said.
All right, so again, either for no matter either whether you have well-defined goals, whether you don't, the hobby itself, though, continues. You don't stop and go, like, I mean, do you guys ever see these people that, and I mean, I'm not trying to say good, bad, or otherwise, but they'll complete a set and they're like, okie doke, I'll sell it all off.
I've seen the sellout. There's one guy, too, in particular I'm thinking of on Nintendo Age who completed his SNES set, which was not quite a full set, but it was really close, and he got some of the really hard ones.
Yeah.
And he finished it like a year ago. He's still pretty active on the forum, but never for buying. He's just like, I'm playing this game, like, I'll help you find this game. And like, he's really involved, and he still wants to keep it going, but he's done with his stuff.
He's no more collecting at all.
Interesting, yeah. I couldn't imagine getting to that point. It's very bizarre.
It's just like I told you, like before you went down to San Diego, right? There was that guy that's selling almost complete turbo set, right?
Yep.
Everything but one game.
So close to getting that too. Why'd you have to bring that up?
Well, I did that on purpose, actually, because I want to talk about the experience for a minute, right? Because there's stories like yours, like Bill's, like mine, where we've been doing this for a long time. And then there's other stories that you mentioned, like I did it in a year, or or Insta collections, you know what I mean? Where I just bought the whole thing pre-packaged. I mean, I'm not trying to say one way or the other, but I mean, in your opinion, does that for you, would that cheapen the experience, or would that be just as good as doing it all yourself, or what do you think?
Like I said, I was really close to getting that TurboGrafx slot,
right?
And I was gonna have no problem adding about 45 of those games to my 55 game collection.
Okay.
I've already got all the contacts and stuff though that come with the years of building it, so I don't really feel like I'm missing that experience I would have had.
Okay.
For someone who's just brand new to it, going that way, I think it'd be a lot different.
I agree. I was, so for instance, like if I completed my 32X set and then enjoyed it for a couple of years and then decided, okay, I've had the fun, I'd like to pass it on to someone else. If someone who was just getting into 32X collecting, who like had never really kind of spent times on the forums or anything, if I somehow got in contact with this person and said, hey, do you want to buy the complete set right now for X dollars? And he was like, yeah, here are the dollars. And I gave him the stuff. I mean, I can't tell you how he would feel, but like knowing how, I operate as a collector and like kind of like working on the forums and chatting with people and making the contacts and going out and having fun. If everything was just one day in your lap and you threw it on a shelf, I just can't imagine that having the same satisfaction with acquired that way.
No, I think back to all the friends that I've made, during like all of these collecting times and everything. Bill's gonna play. Can we do the what was the Hulk walking away song?
Yeah, I was doing Sad Hulk Walk. I'm glad you picked that up.
And I'm not trying to be mushy about it, but I mean it's true, right? I mean,
no, it definitely is.
It's honestly one of my favorite parts of the hobby. Is I've made tons of friends.
I think it's amazing how many friends you make across the country, and like even in other countries. It's weird. I don't think of Canada as another country because like we're like Siamese twins with them. But like,
yeah, I do so much shipping across the border that it's
Just so when I say other countries, as much as we love Krabby and Fleech and Tech Wizard and all our Canadian bros, like I bought a manual from someone in Belgium, like a month ago.
There you go.
And just even the fact that I did that. I mean, I know it's like it's in the age we live in. It's like, hey, it's there's worldwide shipping next day for like $20. It's no big deal. But like just the fact that like I'm buying stuff from somebody in Japan or someone in Belgium, and like you're actually like chatting with these people and talking them up and like figuring out like how they operate out there and what kind of cool stuff they have that you didn't have. Like that's all part, like the goal is to get those games, but that's not the only gratifying piece of the hobby. There's so many other pieces that make it what it is.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories we went down to Orlando a few years ago. One of my favorite memories is just meeting Ray, Shadow Kisuragi on RF Generation. And he just took me to flea markets for like half a day. And it was awesome. Like, we don't have anything, like our flea markets up here are not flea markets like you guys have. They're either storefronts or like farmers markets where people sell their own like homemade stuff.
Right.
So going down there and like haggling with people and just finding scraps, like digging through VHS tapes, looking for NES games on the bottom was just amazing. And
the things we take for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I had a recent experience just a couple weeks ago with some, I had a buddy that was selling some Sony PVMs. Is like, hey, I got these. Anybody would be interested? And I'm like, yeah, I could probably have them all sold like about no time flat. Let me make a couple contacts, and that was it. So the couple Nintendo Age guys come down, and they're going through those and picking those up. And then we're like, well, let's go out and flea market, right? So we were out, and those are the kind of days that are just great. And some people had some amazing pickups, and it was just fun. Even if you don't pick up something fantastic, it's just a lot of fun to run around with people that enjoy doing the same thing that you do. So,
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, it's there's just there's a lot to it. I don't really understand too much though. Every once in a while, I see that though. I see the sell off. I've got all the stuff, and then I'm selling my whole collection. Bang.
And you're not talking about the sell off. Because you do see the sell offs where people are like, lost my job. Mom's got cancer. You'll
That's
see
different.
Those things once in a while, and it's like, okay, that's a different situation.
Yeah.
You're talking about, unprovoked. I finished the thing. I'm done. I'm going to sell it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like we talked about really early, though, like your marathon analogy. I'd be okay doing that with some areas of my life. I don't know if it'd be with game collecting, but I'm okay with hitting a goal. That hobby is done. New hobby now. And that's what I'm assuming it's like for some people. I had fun. I got my Nintendo games. Now I'm going to spend all that money on a bike, and I'm going to BMX for a few months, then I'm going to sell that bike, and then I'm going to buy a pair of skis.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess there's whatever you're in the whatever the hobby does for you, right? Maybe it gives you a goal instead of the experience or something. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe that's it. I don't know why everybody does what they do, but if it's anything, when we're talking completing sets and whatnot, it seems to me that is a really popular thing in collecting circles these days, right? I mean, everybody wants full sets of things.
As it should be. That's the only way I can sell all my 10-yard fights at the store.
I think about that sometimes. Like I went to the store the other day. That's a really good point. I went to the store the other day, and I'm looking at like the complete in box games they have, and I'm looking at all these, and I'm like, no one's just going to come in and buy those games. And it's like the reason that a lot of these things sell is for, people who are going after a set, whether it's complete or cart or whatever. It's like, that's the only reason. It's just to fill the spot on that checklist, and they sell.
Yeah, to a point. I don't know. I hit my local store the other day, and I'm like, all those giant stacks of Saturn sports games you got sitting there, those are never going to sell. Why don't you sell me a couple cheap for cases?
Yep.
And they did, but because there's just racks of the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, but I mean, you do hear arguments against the full set from people though. They're like, why would I want one of these crappy sports games, and why would I want, I just want the Marios and the Mega Mans and the whatever. Yeah. Let's talk about Billy. You talked about going back and playing these things, and Krabby, I know you like to play the games and whatnot. So, how much of collecting is the getting to enjoy the games for what they are, video games that you play, and how much is it just owning them and staring at them on the shelf when you sit in the couch?
It's gonna be couch.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I really for me, it's mostly the chase, the hunt, owning them, sitting them, and looking at them on the couch, and lamenting that I don't have people like Krabby has 9 different people who it's like, oh, this is my Mega Man X guy, and this is my this is the group that that comes to the store and plays the the Smash Bros tournament.
That's actually relatively new to me though. That's a new experience. Yeah.
Well, I think you need to open Game Quest Connecticut, and then
I'm telling you,
I'll sell you the license for a real good price.
Is it the exact same amount of a certain bill?
Could maybe work something out there.
So, inside joke. But yeah, no, I spend so much time, whenever I look at, the PVM that Chris hooked me up with last year, or, the Super Nintendo, any of my video games, any of the consoles that are set up and sitting there, and I look at my, boxes of controllers, I just always think, man, wouldn't it be great to have, 30 people over here, set up a whole bunch of TVs, throughout, the main level of the house, and just have people, walk around and just play whatever they want. And, of course, it never happens. once in a while I'll have like a handful of people over who I'm like, hey, you want to play Jackal? And then they're like, no. And then
what the heck is Jackal?
Exactly. Yeah. So
do you mean that old '90s rock group?
Yeah. One time,
The lumberjack song.
one time, someone did like a couple of friends came over. They brought a couple friends, and he saw some games, and I was like, "Do you want to play Jackal?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I love Jackal." And we sat there and we completed Jackal. Like while everyone else was sitting there, like, "When are we gonna do something?" We're like, "We're doing something right now, son."
I guess I'm lucky enough to have lots of nerds close by. I got friends I can play with.
Yeah, I need more close nerds in my life. I need more, forum people. You guys are both really lucky, Chris, with all the people, the like-minded people who kind of live near you, and Krabby with the store and everything. I've put myself out there as like, hey, this is what I'm about. This is what I'd love to have over at my house. Anybody interested? And pretty much all my friends are like, oh, bless his little heart.
No, you need to make new friends.
Yeah. I tried that several times before opening the store. I don't know if you remember, but I tried to start just like a gaming club where we'd meet up at the...
I do remember that, yeah.
We had like a few people show up the first one. We had like 6 of us total. And then the next time we had like half of those people show up and then just nobody would come. But with the store, it's opened up all these really cool opportunities. Like I'm getting to a point where I can make some like weird gaming fantasies come true. Like where we might be having a Saturn Bomberman with both multi-taps and like all 10 players running.
Ooh.
That I'm so excited. And we were talking recently about doing like a versus Pac-Man on the GameCube again, which I have not done in so long. So it's opened up some new opportunities that I never had before to just play the games.
That's awesome.
Because how else are you going to find, at minimum of 10 guys that want to play Bomberman for at least an hour?
You're not. That's that's the only way is you're going to open up a store.
I don't know. I guess I've been fortunate enough to make enough new friends. Luckily, maybe enough that were close by that enjoy the same sort of stuff. So, I think you've probably got people around you, Bill. You just gotta get in touch with them. They're probably not the people you already know. You just need to make some new friends.
They're probably socially awkward, so you got to approach them in weird ways.
Yeah, I got to find the Nintendo Age Connecticut subset group.
Sure. I can understand. So Krabby, what about you? What is the play factor versus the I get to look and judging from what you've got to look at right now, I'm going to probably guess a certain direction, but
like I said, when I was first starting out, it was to play new games that I'd never heard of and see if I liked them. And I have found, particularly with, I don't know, like sprite-based games, yeah. I am very forgiving. I can play crappy, or games that most people think are crappy, and get a lot of joy out of them. I just think they're really fun. Even genres I used to hate as a kid, like Romance of the Three Kingdoms type games. Mm-hmm. I can sit there for 10 hours and just doing the same repetitive thing, you're training your army or whatever, and get a lot of weird joy out of it. So I found most of the library I really like. And I know a lot of people say, like, there's a maximum of 100 good games, and that's it.
No.
You hear that a lot on forums, especially on Nintendo Age. They'll say there's like 80 to 100 good games, and then you're done.
Whatever.
I'm more leaning towards, like, I haven't played everything yet, but I've played over half of them, and I've beaten over half of them. And I'd say I'm leaning towards like close to 550 to 600 of them being things that I enjoy and could see myself playing again.
Yeah, I don't know if I have quite that much love, but I mean, I would say it's probably an easy 200-300 good titles there.
Oh yeah, that's without even trying. Yeah,
it wouldn't be that hard. Even some ones that people gripe about, like Athena or
Deadly Tower.
Yeah, you're right. I can still play those.
Yeah. There's some games too where I like, I'll stick something in that I think I've never played before, and all of a sudden I get a flashback to playing that game as a kid, like renting Dash Galaxy in the Alien Asylum one weekend. And I'm like, holy crap, I've played this. I forgot about this game. Like, even the cover art didn't look familiar to me. It was just the gameplay just clicked all of a sudden.
Yeah, I can understand.
That's a really cool feeling. And I forget that I, played something one day at a friend's house who'd borrowed it from another friend. He didn't actually own it. And there's a lot of those, memories just flood back in. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the enjoyment factor is pretty important because I don't do the box thing, and I'll be quite honest, and I don't have a lot of space, so some of my stuff gets packed away. My Nintendo NES stuff kind of stays out. The rest of it kind of gets shuffled around as needed. But I like to enjoy it when I can. You know what I mean? Plug it in, play something. That's their games. That's kind of what they're there for. I don't have, obviously I got kids. I'm grown. I have a job, and I don't have as much time, but every once in a while, it's like, okay, I'll give up a couple hours sleep and I'll play, like the other night, it's like, okay, I'm going to play Mega Man. And you know what I mean? So
you finally played the good one.
I did finally give up on 3 after a few hours. I got pretty far. That one's just too long to sit through all at once. But to me, it's the enjoyment. I mean, just owning them. Don't get me wrong. There's sometimes I do kind of open the case and look at it like, wow, that's a lot. It's like a lot of stuff. But usually it's like, let me go and look and pick through and like try to find something maybe that I haven't touched in a while or something or whatnot. Or pick something out that I can bring, Maddie, my 4-year-old, down. And like the other day, we were like, okay, let's go I grabbed, Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World.
Oh, of course.
And we're just, plunking through some of the different games for a minute, goofing off. But, yeah, it's fun.
So you mentioned a second ago that your stuff gets shuffled around.
Yeah.
So you don't have kind of like a kind of like shelving or a display setup where everything is kind of there. It gets kind of mobile.
Well, no, I've got like my NES stuff. It's not like some nice big formal like you guys have these big bookcase things or whatever. So I've got like a big case kind of thing where they all are in that, and then some of the other stuff that I play out, like I have certain like Famicom games I have kind of over in a spot where I kind of keep them handy that I want to play, and some drawers for like controllers and stuff. But I'm talking like other systems. Like if I want to go play Genesis, I'm going to have to go over to another shelf over here to the Genesis games I play often. They're right there. But if I want to go pick something that I haven't played in a while, it's going to be in a tub. Yeah. Put away. You know what I mean?
In a Rubbermaid?
Yeah. Or if I want to play Atari, I don't, it's not just out. I'm going to have to go get my Atari. I'm going to have to hook it up. I'm going to have to get the games out. I don't have some master game room somewhere someday, maybe before I die, but, I don't have that right now. So I guess that leads us into the whole idea of storage versus display. So, I mean, my house is not gigantic. I've got 3 kids and a wife who would probably beat me to death if I took over half the house with my collection. So I'm okay with that. It's just kind of what it needs to be. And maybe one of these days, space opens up a little bit more, but or we move into a different place.
Kids move out eventually.
Yeah, sure. And that's okay. I've come to peace with that idea. But, I mean, you guys have a little bit more. Like, well, B, you said, you have like a spot at your folks' house that you've got set up, right?
Well, yeah, we were living at my folks' house before we left our last place, and the next place wasn't ready yet, so we were there for like a couple months. So at first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to like take the collection out of the boxes they were packed in and everything, but we had the bookcases and everything, so I was like, whatever, I'll just put them up. They'll look good, and if we get delayed getting out of here, at least I'll be able to reach all my games. So then, when we moved into the place we're in now, I kind of, like, the collection was there, and I was like, well, there's no rush. Like, I can always bring it over box by box, so let's just, get settled in first. So then we got settled in over here, and we kind of got everything set up the way we like it. And first, it was like, oh, well, there's not really a huge space kind of like that we had over there for everything to go. So I was like, well, why don't we just leave it there for now? My parents had recently waterproofed the basement, so that made me feel a little bit better about it. And like they're like 10 minutes away, so it's they're never far. So that's just kind of where it is right now. But we're looking at getting into a different place. I think late this year. And this is going to be the place that we hope we're going to be staying for a while. So one of the things that we're very keen on is making sure that there's enough space for us to grow into, and enough space for us to, I really, I have nothing against people who, keep things in storage containers. It's the only way to do it for collections of a certain size if you don't have, not if you're not living in a mansion.
Right.
But it's one thing that's really important to me is having, an area, even if I can't display everything, I do really want to have, the collection displayed, and not even for other people. Like I said before, I really like just sitting there and looking at the collection. So, I really like the shelving that Krabby's done. It's kind of enclosed, but like you can kind of get in there and kind of see the whole library like that. I really like what Tinstar did. If you look through the forums, I know he sold off some of the stuff that he used to have, like some of the Nintendo stuff and the Saturn stuff and everything. But I think I ended up contacting him a while ago about the shelves, and every time I see someone with amazing shelves, I'm like, those are amazing. Where'd you get those? The answer is always, oh, I built them.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be the plan for the next place. Is we've been using IKEA bookshelves, which they're nice, they're great, but they're big, they're bulky, they're hard to move. I really think I like the idea of like designing and building my own shelving system. So that's kind of where we're looking for the next place.
It's not as intimidating as it seems at first. I had no woodworking skills at all, and I had a friend kind of walk me through it, and it was so easy, and it just, it fits your exact needs. You don't need to make the shelf fit your house. You can make your house, fit your needs, what you want it to do.
Yeah, that's once we see the space, and then we kind of figure out, like, in our minds, like, this is what we want it to look like. I'm going to enlist the help of one of several friends I have who I think who can kind of point me in the right direction, or maybe be my guide through that process. Because
that's all you need. Just someone who's willing to sit down and plan it with you, even if you have to, pick everything up, cut it, paint it, all that. That's menial stuff that you can learn to do. As long as someone's helping you through the steps. This is what you do first. This is what you do next. This is why this won't work. This is why this will look good. Yeah.
So, Krabby, you have a pretty, or at least at one point had a pretty elaborate game room.
Zing!
I'm not trying to crack wise here, but I've seen it recently. But you have a nice game room, right?
I used to, yeah. And like Bill at his parents' house, there was those moments where I'd go in there, like sometimes with the intention of playing something. You just sit there and soak it in, and like, oh, I got that from so and so on the forum, or we traded these, or I picked this up for $2 at a garage sale, and it's awesome to have that space to just do whatever you wanted. And we're talking about moving downtown too, and basically the only thing that I'm looking for in this house is a finished basement that I can steal a portion of. And what we have now is we've got like an extra bedroom in the basement, which I've converted into my game room. And my wife's been kind enough to let me spill out some like arcades and pinballs into the main living room area. We have family that comes over every Tuesday. We do family dinner, and we rotate it whose house. And when they come to our house, the kids will come and play pinball with me. They'll play an arcade machine with me. So I've kind of fitted into the living room situation, because it's not just me using it. But I would love to just take a chunk of the next place and, like Bill said, customize it to my needs and not just buy cases to fit it. I really want to make a massive entertainment stand that I can house like 30 different consoles in and have them all hooked up with switches, so everything's ready to go whenever I want to play it. I used to have about 20 of them set up in my game room, but I've got more systems now. I want to expand that and make sure it's all functional as well as looks good.
Yeah. Well, I can appreciate that. I think if I had unlimited funds and everything else, and probably less kids.
I've got one kid like Bill, so right now we got some space. You got 3, so it's a little harder, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's all right. I mean, like I said, it's kids. They don't live with you forever, and that who's to say that I live in this house forever either? But that's all right. Like I said, as long as they're accessible to me, that's the important part. If I know if I want to go grab it and play it, I can do it, and I can live within within that parameters. That's fine. I'm kind of curious. We've spent a little time talking about. I mean, mainly what we do is we collect games for older systems, but I kind of want to throw in a quick, and maybe it's something we could flesh out at some other point in the future, but what's the viability of trying to complete sets for systems that are still there, are still out there?
Like ones that are still being sold in stores, you mean?
Yeah, like if somebody said, okay, and there are, I know people are like, oh, I want like Xbox 360 sets
Yeah,
or
like
whatever.
Tin Star is a great example of that.
Yeah,
one.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
So collecting for
And like
a
crabbing
real life,
with the Vita.
I've
Yeah.
been doing Vita and Wii U lately, yeah.
yeah. So trying to collect for a live system, what's
I
that like?
I have zero to say about this, so I'm just going to listen.
I don't have much either. I mean, I'm just trying to. I mean, I'm just throwing those ideas out there. Maybe we can flesh it out more later.
It's a very different experience. Like with the Vita, the first thing I did when I decided, I'm going to grab a whole bunch of Vita games is, where's the complete list? It doesn't exist. I Googled it for like 20 minutes and couldn't find anything remotely decent.
The sickness has started already.
And then you didn't make it because you're like, well, I'll save it for the submissions contest.
Yeah, so you don't have as well-defined parameters. You don't have hundreds of people that have been doing this for years that have like narrowed it down for you. These are the hard ones to find. These are the pricey ones. These are the ones you need to get to have the full set. This is what a full set includes. You don't have any of that stuff. You're the one who's helping make that up as you go.
Yeah, moving target, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I know Tin Star a while back, he messaged me just out of the blue because he found out all of a sudden, this. You guys ever read Asterix and Obelix when you were kids?
I'm familiar with it, but
yeah, it's a good old comic strip. I think it was bigger in the UK. But they, for some reason, because PAL releases sometimes come over to Canada, I guess because we're bilingual, we got an Asterix game. Asterix goes to the Olympics on the 360, which was Canadian exclusive, and he lives in the States. He never got it there, and he found out about that. He wanted it, so he had to get in contact with someone in Canada to go to, Walmart or wherever up here and send it down to him. And our other crazy guy on the forum there, Isret, with his Mortal Kombat stuff. Same thing. It was,
right.
The new Mortal Kombat, when Mortal Kombat 9 came out, there was a very specific Future Shop exclusive steelbook you could get. And so he got in contact with me to get the steelbook to send it down to him. So you got to really be part of a community, I think, to get those weird, obscure things that are going to pop up out of seemingly nowhere. If you want to get them quick while they're still readily available. So that's a lot harder, a lot different.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Sorry, I was saying, and pricing's so much different too, because you're used to with the older stuff. This is sold for $50 for so long, so if I can get it for at least that, I'm okay. But whereas the new stuff, you'll have, it's $40 at Walmart, it's $20 on sale at Target that day. If you wait a little bit, that game's likely to hit the bargain bin. You can get it for $5 to $10. This one, it's not going to show up in the pawn shops as often because people don't often trade in like role-playing games as much as like shooters or platformers or racers. So you really gotta, be on your toes a little more.
Yeah, and I would say the thing that's going to, I would think, kill a modern gen collector is going to be the insane amount of like crazy collector editions. Because some of them are like there's like a regular collector's edition, like a super, like a ultra limited edition.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt when I'm pricing stuff in the store. It's like, okay, which one to get? The limited, the collector's, or the special edition?
Right. Yeah.
And especially some of the for like a 360 completionist, like I didn't even realize this because I'm just not in the market for them, but something like the Mass Effect 1 collector edition.
Yeah.
Was actually like a lot of limited editions are really not that limited. So this one was, actually pretty limited. And when someone ever told me that this thing is like between like $300 and $500 if you can find a complete one, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like it's just one of those things that, you wouldn't know if you weren't going out. And it's got to be hard going after, like you said, like there's like 6 different editions of so many of these new games that come out. It's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, I can't imagine. For those few brave souls that are trying to do it, and Krabby, I guess if you're going to try with Vita, I wish you luck. I would be interested to see what that experience looks like when the system is done. You know what I mean?
I think overall, too, it's likely, if you're talking about a system with a similar library to an old established one, it's going to be pricier to buy them current in almost every aspect. There's no way you get around that because you don't not waiting for everything to, how much of the NES library is, $5 or less.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're just not going to be able to find that when you're buying most of the games at some kind of retail outlet. They're not likely going to be less than $5.
Yeah, and I'll see people, like on Nintendo Age whatnot, like they're going for a DS set, or they're going for, and they're still in people are doing 3DS. And,
yeah, DS would be a huge one.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's I'll walk by the Target clearance rack every once in a while, and you'll see 13 DS games that you never knew existed.
Yeah.
That's gotta be a crazy list to maintain.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what do you guys think is like the sweet spot when you're saying, okay, I want to get a full set of games? Is the time period that we're living in right now, 2014, is the sweet spot PS2? Is the sweet spot PS1?
It's
I don't know if
probably
PS
PS2 and Xbox, yeah.
When you say sweet spot, how do you mean?
What I mean is this is the biggest
after it's been established.
Yeah, this is the biggest bang for your buck. If you're going to do it, get in now. You know what I mean?
Oh, so you're not talking about completing one of these systems. You're just talking about you can get a bunch of good games for decent money if you just want to play some good stuff.
No, I mean completing.
I don't know if PS2 is ever the sweet spot for completing a set. There's 98,000 games on the PS2.
There is 4,000, something like that. I mean, I don't know the exact.
Oh, is that it?
I think there's 2,000. I don't think it's
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
I would have no idea.
I think it was 1,800, and then stuff kept trickling out. So I think it's getting close to 19 to 2,000.
I mean, I thought you were talking bang for your buck as far as you can spend very little money and get some really good games. I'd say absolutely PS2.
Well, I mean,
you mean it's if you're ever going to complete it, the best time is a year after, 10 years after?
Exactly.
Ugh,
Because you hear all the people talk about, oh man, I wish I could have bought Nintendo games back when they were, everything was $1, and they'll bring out the play and trade ad, Stadium events, 39 cents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I don't know if there's a standard, kind of X amount of time. But I know what you're saying though, because once the system kind of dies down, all the stuff goes on clearance, and then there's always that little time goes by, and then it starts creeping up. People start realizing, oh, those games are good. Let's get that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think PS2 is in a pretty good spot right now. I just really, I hesitate to say that would ever be an easy thing to complete.
I think PS2 is probably the best it's going to be, but I think it's not as good as, say, something like when the Dreamcast went out, where there weren't quite as many collectors and we weren't quite as savvy. So I think people now, they know to look, for those late releases or those specific genres or publishers. So people are grabbing things like Rule of Roses.
Oh yeah,
it's already pretty pricey. Whereas normally people wouldn't have caught on to that for a few more years. So there would have been a lot of us picking it up for, $10.
Yeah. Well, the internet is a thing now, right? So,
absolutely, yeah. So I don't know if there's ever a perfect spot anymore where you're going to get a lot of those rarities, but I think it's still a really, really good time overall right now for PS2 and Xbox, PSP.
Right. But
probably DS too.
But if you try to go through, let's look at things within that same time range. I don't even know if it could be time, because look at GameCube, right?
GameCube had a different time frame completely. It's going up, whereas PS2 and Xbox, they're slowly they're sitting still for the most part, with a few things kind of climbing.
Yeah, if you wanted to get on a GameCube, that was 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Yep.
And now you're in a tough spot. So, I mean, and it'll get worse, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. Nintendo is a weird oddity in collecting, I think. And
it will a rabid fan base, right? I mean,
even the Wii U stuff that I get in the store is, I get more PS4 and Xbox One stuff already than Wii U stuff. It's obviously not selling as well, but the stuff that does come in has held its value way better, and it sells way quicker.
Yeah, and I think honestly, for something like the GameCube that didn't do gangbuster sales, that probably works in its advantage price-wise. You know what I mean? There's not as many.
Yeah. And it was that party system, too, where you knew one guy who had Smash Bros., and all 6 or 7 friends used to play there.
Yeah.
So now when 5 of those 7 guys are looking for GameCube games, they all want that one copy of the other friend.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's tough, but I try to think, sometimes, I know what I care about, but, in the future, somebody's going to care about some of the stuff to me that is not too old, right? But they're still going to go, wow, and there's going to be those people that go, I want a PS2 set. I want a GameCube set. You know what I mean?
Yeah. GameCube would be a fun one. I've toyed with that one.
It's approachable, at least.
Yeah. Number-wise. Yeah. PS2, I feel is overwhelming for me, but GameCube's still in that realm of possibility.
Yeah. I think it's probably fairly reasonable to collect. I mean, in terms of actually finding things. I mean, there's nothing that's too crazy rare.
The only GameCube game I have never seen locally, and I'm not in a huge populated area, is the Pokemon box that you had to buy through the Nintendo store.
Oh.
Everything else I've seen. I've seen multiple copies of like Phantasy Star Online, episodes 1 and 2 plus, Cubivores, what else is there? The Mario DDR, Chibi Robos.
It makes me wonder, though, is there something of the magnitude of the craziness that we kind of deal with, that, like the Nintendo World Championship, just that thing that is so insanely rare that it's going to command just silly money someday? I mean, obviously, that's what everybody wants to know so they can buy it.
Yeah.
But,
it still creep out. Like, you'll see, like, that NBA Elite 11 for PS3.
Oh, yeah, right.
That sells for a couple grand already, and that's not all that old. 2011 was, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took stadium events, 2 decades to get to that price.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And stadium events, it hit stores. I mean, the NBA game, it didn't even make it that far.
Yeah.
It literally like the week or two before it came out was canceled. So like I remember thinking, when I read that news, it's definitely been made. it's definitely been pressed. I was like, I wonder if those, when those copies are going to leak out to the market. And then sure enough.
Which, okay, this is an aside for 2 seconds, and then hopefully we can get back to topic. But when we're recording this, I'm sure you guys heard all about the ET dig, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read the story. I saw the headlines. I didn't read about it.
Well, they went out to the desert where supposedly all the ET carts were buried, and they dug up the landfill, and guess what? All the ET carts are there. So lo and behold, it was right. So they were a big landfill full of Atari carts and stuff. But that triggered something in my brain, and I thought, okay, so if somebody wants to do a documentary or wants to go on a hunt, all these stadium events carts were made, produced, boxed, and a few of them actually hit a few stores before they were pulled.
And after Game Master Howard they were asking him what minimum print runs were. He was saying minimum print runs were typically 10,000 cartridges.
Yeah. So where did they go? Did they go in a landfill somewhere?
Did they get repurposed? Did they get destroyed? Yeah. Did they get buried?
Yeah, field destroy, I'm guessing.
I would like...
because when I worked at GameStop, Babbage's before it was GameStop, and Funcoland before that, there were certain things that, the manager would get would get a message in their inbox and say, hey, because when we take returns in, we would tell if it was open, used, or whatever. And if there was a cart that had very high inventory levels, company wide, that they couldn't reshuffle to another place, or that it, we only traded in for 10 cents and we sold it for 89 cents, like Super Mario Brothers 1, there's a whole list of things that would print out every week, and it said field destroy. And I remember walking in the back room one day, the manager was literally smashing carts with a hammer and snapping discs in half. And I said,
wow.
I said, what are you doing? Are you quitting? And he was like, no, this is field destroy. We get a list of stuff and I said, why don't you give that to somebody? You're just going to destroy. And they're like, yeah, no, they don't do that. It's kind of like at the end of the day at Dunkin' Donuts, they throw the donuts away. And it's like, why don't you give those to food, a homeless shelter, something? They're like, nope, we throw them away.
Yeah.
So it's like, I really, wonder how many of these things over the years were just like, oh, this has been recalled, but the company doesn't want to pay to ship it back. Destroy them.
Yeah. Once in a while, you hear those little stories too, like the oddities, something like Cheetah Man 2.
Right.
Where a bunch of them are discovered. So I think people are holding out for, that crate or that shipping pallet of stadium events that got lost in time to just reappear.
Or like the Virtual Boys, right? That shipping container.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I don't know the reference.
Yeah, there was a shipping container. Like, I didn't know about this either until I think it was actually on Pawn Stars. I think somebody was trying to sell them like a loose Virtual Boy, and they were like, "Yeah, like a shipping container was found with like a couple hundred of these like not long ago." So it kind of hurt the value of them. And then I looked it up, and sure enough, it's true. So
they said something factual on that show.
Yeah.
I remember seeing when the World Championships came
in. The NES pump.
And the toy expert came in and just like looked at it front and back, didn't open it up at all. He's like, "Yep, it's legit."
Of course.
Yeah. Did I tell you that one of the guys from Retroware TV used to be he either used to be a producer at the History Channel or used to know a producer at the History Channel, and he talked to them before they set that up. And I know everyone knows the setup, but he was just like, yeah, like you'd be amazed like how set up it is. Like you get in there to film, and they say, okay, he's going to say this to you, and then you say this back to him. Okay, go. So, but yeah, it's I think he's actually the one who like told the producer friend like, hey, I know this guy who's got this game if you want to fly him out and put it on there. So it definitely was a setup.
Yeah, well, that's not too surprising, right?
Nope.
Yeah, that's how they work.
Yeah, it's entertainment. But I would think if somebody wants to, if somebody's, let's be honest, God, you dug up ET cartridges. I mean, these things are already worth nothing, and now you have a whole landfill full of them. Yeah,
they probably also at least temporarily raised demand in them with the big story and the.
They went
a
from
decent amount of coverage.
25 cents to 50 cents or something.
Yeah, I'm going to double my bucks here right away.
But, that would be a story, though. Track down some stadium events. Find out what's the story, right? What's the real story of what happened?
Some people, especially on Nintendo Age, have been amazed with some of the stuff they've tracked down or some of the information they've tracked down. I'm surprised nothing spectacularly... Some big evidence to equate how many copies of stadium events are actually floating out there has not come out yet.
Well, sure, because they know. I mean, there are people that must know this.
There's somebody somewhere who has that information. We just need to figure out who that is.
Right, yeah, somebody at Nintendo that will never, ever tell, ever.
Yeah, real quick, I just did a quick search on that Virtual Boy container, and it was a crate containing 100 factory-sealed Virtual Boy consoles has been discovered in a warehouse in Dubai, of all places.
Wow.
The product was just left years ago, and nobody knew it was in stock, said GK Games purchasing manager Vijay Chen Botra. For me, it was dead stock. I didn't even know this Virtual Boy existed until we found it.
Crazy.
So they're PAL ones, though. That doesn't affect the North American market.
There's no such thing as PAL Virtual Boys.
Yeah, no? I don't know.
I don't know anything about importing Virtual Boy stuff.
I don't either.
They have built-in displays, so they're all the same.
Interesting.
Yeah, just different boxes and stuff.
Do you think the sticker? Do you think the Duracell sticker was in different languages depending on the country you're in?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
So when you guys I'm assuming you have some sort of plan in mind when you're going for a complete set, especially like something more manageable like the 32X. It's easier to kind of plan your attack route. When it comes to the really hard to find games or the really pricey games, how do you approach those? Do you try and knock them off your list right away? Do you just wait until the right opportunity presents itself? Do you keep them till last? Like what's the method with those kind of games?
I mean, for me, it's really all about opportunity. I didn't set out some kind of you said, well, I've got this game plan. I'm going to go for all the big titles up front, and then I'll which is smart. I mean, it did well for you. I've really approached that way because I don't do eBay hardly at all. So it's really more of what do I come into contact with? What do I have the opportunity and what's within my reach? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And is it the right time? Yeah, but usually to me, it's just take the opportunity as they come. That's really the way I've kind of played it.
Knowing which games you have left, though, do you regret that? Or are you still happy with that? Or
I've been doing this for so long. If I was going to try to double guess I would have to say,
Okay.
why back in the 90s, why wasn't I chasing down Flintstones too? You know what I mean?
Okay, a different question then. If you decided to collect for a different set now, you're done with NES.
Oh, okay, all right.
If you started going Genesis, would you seek out those rarities early on, or would you still just leave them until the opportunity arises?
I'd say let's pretend that I would go for a different set because
yeah, it's all hypothetical. Yes.
I certainly won't. But if so, knowing what I know, if I believe the prices are going to keep going up, I would try to hit the hard ones first.
What about not even up, just stagnant?
If
prices are what they are today, and they will always remain that way under assumption.
If that's
would you still go for the...
If the prices will never change, no, I'd save the expensive ones for last so I can enjoy the ones before I get there.
Okay.
Bill?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same on that. And again, I know it's worked out very well for Krabby with Nintendo being the way that it was for going after those big ones first, but maybe partially because I've always been budget conscious, but also because it's really, like Duke said, kind of like about what I come in contact with. So it's not that I'll avoid expensive games, but I don't seek them out either. I've really always just been, okay, if it's a 32X game I don't have, or if it's a Nintendo game I don't have and it's boxed, and for 32X, it has to be in real nice shape because it's kind of like with Krabby's doing with Virtual Boy. I think I had a handful of boxed Virtual Boy games, and I offered them to Krabby, and he was like, one of them was loose, and he was like, with there being so few, I might as well just go for a nice complete set. So with 32X, same thing. Like, there's so few games, like, why have a crappy box, of something. But yeah, it's always just been like what I came in contact with. I've never had like the itch to like grab one of the grails or like one of the hard to find ones. Like if it happens, it happens. More often than not, it's someone from RF Gen or someone who I've dealt with before. I'll get a call or an email and say, hey, I've got a lead on this, or hey, I just picked this up. I'll give you a decent price on it. Would you want to go for it? And even then I always kind of like hesitate a little bit. I'm like, I don't know. That's a lot of money. But yes, I will do it.
So I felt at the time that I was being very conscious of my budget too, because I really did think some of those games were going much higher. Like the Flintstones, when I grabbed it, I got it for $200, including shipping.
Wow! Yeah,
off a forum, so it wasn't like a steal. It wasn't like I found it for $5 at a garage sale.
Yeah,
right.
It was about the rate at the time. I didn't get a deal on it, but now if I would have spent that $200 on 10 other games that equal $200, I probably would have spent more money overall trying to get that Flintstones. Now that it's raised like $400 since then.
Sure.
Yeah, it's you're right. I mean, it's the one thing about the way that I not regret, but like the one thing that kind of like I look back on is there were a couple of Spider-Man for 32X complete on eBay for like between $205 and $230 like last like Christmas time, and they just weren't selling. And I was like, well, okay. Like, so that's, I'll see if I can get, sub 200 and then I'd be happy with that. And then, I personally think they were fake to drive the price up, but several auctions ended in like the $400 to $500 range. And then and then my local store got a complete copy in and he was asking like $400 for it. And I was like, I really don't think that it's going to hold up there. And then I was like, just give me some time to think. Like, don't hold it for me, but just like I want to think about it. And then he sold it very shortly after that. Wow! And I was like, crap. Like, I wonder if it's really up there in 400 because if it is, I was not smart to not buy it for like 200 back when I could have. The Krabby method. Right. But then a little while later, he contacted me. He's like, yeah, that guy sold it back to me. he's like, I don't know what the backstory was, but then when I went in there yesterday or the day before, yesterday, he had a Spider-Man loose cart. Oh. So I haven't talked to him about it yet, but I'm wondering if either the dude just sold the cart back to him, because if he did, he's a cheater because he's just displaying the box and trying to pass it off as a full thing. Or the guy sold back the whole thing and like someone just bought the box and manual from him to complete their copy. Or I'm just crazy and I come up with different scenarios for Spider-Man 32X at the local store because I should have bought it when it was the price that I should have bought it at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a smart time to buy those games before they kind of like, skyrocket.
Yeah, if you have magic vision and I mean, you don't. So
No.
let me throw this.
Here's my theory when I was going about it. I didn't start getting most of those ones that end in most people's like last 10 list until I was between like 300 to 400 NES games. That was the point where it was like I'm definitely going for this set. I'm this much invested into it, but I don't want all these to be my last ones getting in because I just see them getting harder to find and more expensive. So I felt like that was a good middle ground to grab most of those.
So let me flip this question back to you then, because you said, okay, I'm going to go on and I'm going to do turbo graphics. So does that mean you say, okie doke, Magical Chase, number 1?
Not number 1, but like I said, I'm at the halfway point in TurboGrafx.
Yep.
So I'm now all of a sudden seriously invested in something like Legend of the Hero Tonma or a Magical Chase before waiting till the end. I don't want those ones to be my last ones. So yes, those are in play right now.
All right.
As a non-TurboGrafx guy, I just did a quick search for Magical Chase, and holy crap!
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Stadium Events pricing now, or at least
Which
Stadium
is
Events
crazy.
a couple of years ago. It's up to like the $2,000 mark, I'm assuming.
There's a mint complete one on eBay for 10 grand with 67 watchers.
Yeah.
Complete. Yeah, I'm looking for card and manual with TurboGrafx. So
You don't care if it has the cardboard sleeve thing.
no, so I'm looking more in the $2,000 to $3,000 range for that one for what I'm looking at. The complete though, like 5,000 to 7,000 isn't out of the question.
And I remember seeing this thing, I mean, not that many years ago at like $300. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I had the same thing too, like Bill, you mentioned that, and Bill mentioned the Spider-Man. I bid on a complete in box Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut on the 64.
Yeah.
I put $80 as my maximum bid in. It sold for $84.
Oh, yeah.
I was kicking my ass for not throwing a $100 bid in there because now that complete in box is $2,000.
Yeah. Ouch. But again, right? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. If you had magic vision that could see into the future, which you don't.
Yeah. Or that almanac from Back to the Future too.
Right. But let's go back and let's talk about. It doesn't always play out that way. Like Flintstones too, right? Was up until like $800 range at one point, and now it's coasted back down, right?
Yep.
So there is no.
No, like there was a lot of copies of it floating out of South America for a while.
Exactly. And there's still a few popping up out of there, so it's driven the price down.
And I don't think most people expected something like that to happen with that game.
No, and the odds of Magical Chase showing up like that are probably pretty slim. But
I don't know, the Magical Chase container in Dubai. Just...
the landfill next to the ETs. But I'm kind of interested. I'm amazed that you're going to try to do that. Krabby, but
the Magical Chase one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, after doing the store, and I've got like the Stadium Events, I've got the Exertainment cart for the Super Nintendo, I got a few Turbo CD games, and I got some stuff that's quite valuable now. I feel like I've got this whole new set of games available to me that I couldn't afford before.
Yeah.
Because I've got items I can trade and sell towards these other things that I really want.
Okay, so here, let me just throw this out real quick then. Why not just say, you know what, I'm going to go for an NWSC?
That was on the radar until the last auction. That kind of scared me off. I was hoping if I could get a decent looking gray one for $7,000, I was going to be in the market. Okay. But the last one ended at $11,000. That kind of scared me off a bit.
Yeah, it's gone up a little bit.
Yeah. With that kind of caliber cartridge too, I'm willing to bend a little bit on the quality, but I don't want one that's torn to shreds.
You want the Mario? You want the Mario NWC?
I want one that's easily recognizable from a distance as an NWC card. So,
I guess, I mean, I don't know if you guys have anything else, but one last point at least I wanted to get to is who decides what complete set means?
Just you.
That's an easy question. Yeah. I do.
Okay. Because
it's like I said before, I have no problem with those people that say my set does not include stadium events. I understand that, and I know the reasoning why, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah. If someone says my set is complete, I will never look at that and say, well, no, it's not. Because that person determines what their complete set is.
That's good, because a lot of people have this mentality, right? Like there's some magical checklist.
Yeah.
And you have to adhere to it.
There is a checklist with Magical Chase on it on RF Generation, but that is not the magical checklist.
Yeah. I always make sure when someone asks me in the store about my NES collection, I'm very specific with how I define it. It's not just I'm getting all the NES games. It's I'm getting all of the licensed retail NES games.
Yep.
Released in North America.
North America, yes.
Right.
And sometimes, once in a while, I'll have someone say, like, well, do you have Big Nose? And it's like, no, I don't do those. Those don't include it in the list. And then they look disappointed.
But you should play some of them because they are good.
I will.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I know a lot of times people are really hung up on lists. Not always they're useful tools, but I don't think that, because man, it really stirs up debate. Man, does that stir up debate in a collector community.
Talk about Sachin carts?
Oh yeah, man. I love it when that discussion comes up. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. It's like, it's a very slippery slope once you start saying, okay, like, well, that's not every game that you can play in the Nintendo. And then as soon as you go from the first time someone opens up from, okay, well, are you going to include unlicensed? And it's like, well, no, we're not going to do that. And then you say, well, why not? They're like all the, like RBI Baseball, like Pac-Man, Alien Syndrome, like those were all, like Roadrunner, those were all legit titles that were on the system.
Absolutely.
Like, why wouldn't you include those? And it's like, okay, well, let's include those. Okay, well, now you've opened the door. So now it's all unlicensed. And it's like, well, what about the rentals? It's, it's...
Yeah, what about...
And you sound like one of the Southern Republican congressmen when they're talking about, like, gay marriage.
Yeah.
Now you can marry dogs. What's going to happen next?
But that's the whole reason. Like I don't like that way of thinking. I don't like, as soon as you start to put universal rules on it for everybody. I just much rather say like, this is what I'm doing. What are you? Oh, you're doing that? Cool. How you doing with that? Awesome. Can I help you? Cool. What are you looking for? It's like that to me is way more productive and constructive than just getting on a forum and arguing. That's not my idea of a complete set. Like, it just doesn't serve any purpose.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the other day, because, like, Crab, we mentioned Sachin games, and I've been kind of looking at a few of them, like, I will probably want to pick a few of these up at some point in time. And I think, actually, in this case, these quote-unquote lists help out in that case, because the Sachin games are not as in demand because they're not on the unlicensed title list, right?
Yeah.
So people aren't
That's
down.
your advantage.
They're not trying to track them down. So it doesn't matter. I'll still want to pick some of them up at some point in time. So it works for me. I just think it's odd that, I mean, don't get me wrong. But again, going back to like, you were kind of somebody that needs to be able to check something off, right? Like to go, I'm done.
Yep.
So there has to be a list somewhere.
There has to be a list.
Can be your list, but there has to be a list.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. All right. So we've talked a lot about this, and obviously this is an extremely collector kind of question, but what do you guys think is, what's a set mean to you? Does it have to be a rigid defined list? Do we all have to come to agreement, or is it whatever, strikes your fancy? So, we'd like to hear, kind of what your thoughts are about that. So, jump in and give us some feedback and let us know what you think. right, well, thanks everybody very much for listening to another episode of the RF Generation Collector Cast. Wow, you know, Krabby, we started this thing about 2 years ago.
It's a long time.
I know. It's amazing to me that we've been at this for that amount of time. And we've come close. We didn't hit 24 shows, but we've come pretty close to that. I don't think
that's
bad.
not bad, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, not too bad.
It's better than I would have expected.
Yeah, definitely. So, Krabby, thanks very much for taking... I know you have an insane schedule, so thank you very much for taking the time to be back on the show again.
No problem. Like I said, I missed you guys. And thank you for Rich for jumping in last time. I think he did an awesome job.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing more from Rich.
Definitely.
And Bill, as always, thanks for being here.
No problem.
Always glad to have new members of the Dad's Club.
Yeah, it's a very prestigious club.
It is. It just takes a small amount of time to join.
You can put in your application, but there's a waiting period.
Right. But hey, just to wrap up again. So a couple different places you can find us. So Bill, where can people get the show?
Just go to rfgeneration.com.
That's right. Just track it down.
Change your life.
That's right. Crabbo.
We'll switch it up and say you can find us on the collectorcast.com.
Absolutely. So RSS feed is there. It's also Podomatic. You get the Podomatic app. You can also get us on Stitcher. That's definitely there. And we're on iTunes. I don't think we said that before, but we're on iTunes.
Oh, no, we didn't say that. Yeah, you can just do it right there.
Yeah. YouTube. I think we've probably pretty well covered it, but...
Oh, no pickle will mention again?
Oh,
Jeez.
man. I really don't know if it's still there.
Every time I got to be the one.
Podcast gherkin.
Somebody has to Google that really quick and see if that's actually still a thing. Still not on Zune. So.
My father-in-law visited not long ago, and he's got a Windows phone. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Find a podcast app with an RSS feed reader, right? Oh, we've tried. I've tried so many times. But seriously,
did you guys know that Podcast Pickle was a finalist in the 2006 Webby Awards?
I did not know that.
And in 2007 was the winner of the Podcast Peer Award for Best Podcast Directory.
That's probably like right before iTunes started doing podcasts.
What happened to them in 2008?
iTunes started listing podcasts.
Wikipedia doesn't say anything for that year.
Dark times.
I would just say a couple things. I mean, normally this is a part where I'd probably beg for money, but if I'm gonna beg for money this time around, it's the RFGen donation drive. So go give some money to the site. Without it, where are we gonna spend our time, and how are we gonna collect all these massive complete sets, right?
Seriously.
But yeah, make sure you give us some feedback. We really appreciate it. Come join us, rate us, let us know that we're doing well. We appreciate it. Tell your friends, and we'll see you next time.
So he's a little sleep deprived, maybe, from the baby.
That's what new.
Because that's when when you listen to the show and then it goes to music before the topic. So
that's going to be the music it goes to this time.
Yeah, that was Karnov.
Right, there we go.